Negril just started to get a rush hour. Like I would say 2 years ago, I started talking about it. I was like, wow, Negril has a rush hour. And like now it's not terrible, but like I can tell you in 3 years from now, it's gonna be terrible because it's just more and more and more cars, more and more traffic. And now you're gonna bring an airport to it, it's gonna be crazy. That to me is like a legitimate question. What are you gonna do about the not only the existing challenges, but the future challenges as it relates to the road network and traffic that's inevitably needs to be addressed. And if you had real concerns about this airport, like this airport, these are the kind of things that I think that you would be talking about and asking questions about. But I don't hear it. But again, living here and I can see it already. I can see it already. Like, and I see what's happening in Kingston. Oh man. And I don't mean to hate on Kingston. I just don't know how y'all do it. I don't know how y'all do it. The traffic out there is absolutely insane, insane. I love Kingston. I love going there. I love hanging out there. But man, when I think about getting around and doing business and doing that, I'm like, oh my God, man, forget about it. Forget about it. And I don't want the girl to turn into that. Montego Bay, another like it's insane. It's insane. And so again, a legitimate challenge that should be talked about. You know, another one. What is going to be the plane route in terms of like they chose a location, which I know we didn't get into, but what is going to be the plane route? Is the airplanes going to be flying over the white sand beach of Negril? Is it going to be flying west end? Like what kind of routes are they going to be taking? So these, if you're really concerned, like to me, these are legitimate concerns that should be brought to the table. But I'm not hearing that. I'm hearing pandering arguments that are trying to stir the pot that eventually will hold no weight because these problems will eventually be solved. And then what you're going to talk about? All right, I have our guest waiting in the waiting room backstage. I'm going to go ahead and bring Jermaine on. What's going on, man?
Hey, it's Rob. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I was just smiling at your comment about the traffic in Kingston. It's ridiculous. It's one of my greatest challenges here.
Man, like I said, I don't know how y'all do it. And I hope that eventually that gets solved somehow. But sometimes I'll be
I,
like, man, I
I,
don't feel like going to Kingston because of that.
I don't see it because the rate at which we're selling new cars, and I think we're a culture that really enjoys buying a new car and driving a new car. It's not going away because we can't expand our road network wide enough to accommodate all the cars that are there. So it's crazy.
I see. Well, best of luck to you guys with that, man. Anyway, welcome to the show, Jermaine. I appreciate you taking the time. For those of you who are unaware, this is Jermaine. He is the CEO or co-founder of Learn, Grow, Invest. We did a interview with him and his wife Renee. Man, over a year ago now.
Yeah.
Over a year ago now. And they do some really, really incredible things on YouTube. I encourage you to check out his channel. A lot of stuff on investing happening in Jamaica and in the markets. He's super, super in tune on all of that. And he also has a really awesome conference coming up in a few weeks. So please, if I missed anything on the introduction, Jermaine, please chime in. And we want to learn all about your upcoming conference as well.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So let me just fix one thing that you said. So my wife is now CEO. I actually
sorry.
stepped
Yes, that's
down.
right. That's right. Yeah.
Congrats, she's taken over. She's in charge now, and she's doing a great job. And we do focus primarily on investing, money management, but we actually started to shift last year to our entrepreneurial focus, and that's some of what we spoke about when we did the interview with you last year. Because one of the best ways to build wealth is to actually run your own business, to have your own business, to have control over your income. Because the rate at which your 9-to-5 salary will increase is not going to be the same as when you're running your own business, right? And if you put the same amount of hours in your business as you do for a 9-to-5, the results are typically not even the same, right? Because you're going to grow that business a lot faster. And so we thought it best to start including that. We do have a love for entrepreneurship as well. And so the conference that we're hosting is called the Grow Your Wealth Conference, and it brings investing and business in one place. Because when we invest, we are investing in companies, in entrepreneurs with ideas. And so again, we want to help persons to create businesses that can become the vehicle through which investment funds are raised. And so we're hosting it over 2 days, the 29th and 30th of November. We have some great speakers lined up, and it's just going to be an amazing 2 days. I'll get into, I guess, some of the topics a little later, but things such as how to build recurring revenue streams, how to manage your cash flow, how to effectively sell. I'll be touching on how to manage your money as an entrepreneur, how to, like, simple things such as how to pay yourself. Most entrepreneurs don't know how to do that. So they may not set themselves a salary, or they set one just small enough to cover bills. Exactly. So that's one of the things that we have to touch on as well. And we're going to touch on content creation as well, right? Because that's a big part of marketing in 2024. And so that's the synopsis of it.
What's the website?
So it's learngrowinvestconference.com. I'm going to type it in the chat so that it's easier to find. And we're actually having a special today on tickets. So they are 50% off today. And it's, I don't know why I'm doing such a big sale, but we're having a sale on tickets. So just to encourage persons, because sometimes it can be an issue where you're not sure, especially if it's the first time you're hearing about us, if it's going to be worth the investment. So we want to make it as appealing as possible. We know it's going to be a great conference. We've been doing it for a few years now, and we always tend to find speakers that are great. You may not have heard about them every day, but the value that they bring is going to be not commonly seen.
And you have virtual and in-person tickets, correct?
Yes. So we have virtual, and those tickets are $100 right now. We have in-person, which is $200 US, and we have a VIP, just maybe about 30 tickets that are allocated to VIP for $350. VIPs will get, of course, a signed copy of a book from our keynote speakers. We'll have a special presentation just for the VIP with some of our speakers, access to the recording and things like that. So you really have all the options that you'd need to join. So if you're overseas, which I know, for example, a large part of your audience is, they'll still be able to participate in a conference.
Awesome. And I want to dive deeper into the conference breakdown, especially the speakers and everything like that. But I want to get an understanding from your perspective on what are you seeing in the entrepreneurial startup space in Jamaica, and kind of how do you assess the market? And I'll just kind of leave it open.
Yeah. So I've been a part of so I've been an entrepreneur for 24 years now. And I was a part of, things when things just started, when you might have a conference here or there, you might have a competition here or there. And I've seen things come a long way. I think where entrepreneurs are focused now, it's still a lot of isolation. Where I would start a business, I look around, I think I'm doing this by myself. I might start an Instagram page, might start a YouTube page, but for the most part, I don't know where to find funding. I don't know really how to manage some of the things that I need to do for my business, because usually we have a skill that we think we can make money from, or have a product that we want to sell. We don't really know all the other things that we can do. And so we try to get help where we can, which would be from YouTube, or we may see a conference here or there that we attend. But for the most part, we just kind of struggle through it, unless it's, of course, the ways in which I've seen it work well is, for example, if you're in an industry that you're doing really well, let's say from your 9 to 5, and then you segue into that field as your own business. So for example, let's say you're in real estate development and then you start a real estate company. Chances are you do really well because you have the network already, you know how the business works, you know who the clients are. Those persons I see typically doing really well. But for those who are maybe trying to break into a new industry or break into something new that they really don't know the players in that space, networking can be challenging. Finding, appropriate pricing and support from partners may be challenging. And so it's this weird thing where we've come a long way in terms of accepting entrepreneurship even as a part of our culture, because sometimes people thought you started your own business because you couldn't find a job, right? I remember back when it was like that, where they looked at you and thought, nice effort, you're doing something nice, but you're not really going to go anywhere. To persons really respecting entrepreneurship, we've seen the growth in the local stock market as well. The junior market is really meant for entrepreneurs who are still driving most of the day-to-day in their businesses, because they're still, in the grand scheme of things, small companies with ideas still waiting to be developed. Some of them are known brands, but some of them we've never heard about before, and they're able to raise capital, grow their business. And so what we saw in terms of a gap is a place to build a community around entrepreneurship, because that's really what the conference is about. So similar to what you do for Tropics, where you want to, even after the conference, keep people together in some way, because that's the best way to get support. That's the best way to get access to a network. And so we just want to kind of plug the gaps that we see in how the whole ecosystem works now, because almost maybe once or twice per month, I'm getting a call from someone needing help to raise capital or to connect with potential investors. And
sorry,
I
Jermaine,
have
and
to try.
what kind of businesses are you seeing here? Like what kind of industries, and are you seeing, like, because I want to personally, I want to get a sense of
Yeah.
what the entrepreneurial pool is like, what the talent is like, and I think also even people who are watching, like what kind of, I don't know, future businesses could we be seeing? And I'll also say, like, when I think of entrepreneurship, like there's kind of two main lanes that I'm thinking of. Like I
Yeah.
think of like me, small business, who starts a company and I am just doing it for myself, don't plan on going public or receiving public funds, whether it's from like an IB, private equity, whatever it is. And then you have the other side where people are trying to raise like a disproportionate amount of capital, and they want to bring it to the market, so to speak, and raise public funds eventually.
Well, I'm seeing businesses on just about everything that I can think of, because if you think about it, especially with, for example, let's take somebody in e-commerce, or somebody selling some product. Right now, because of the fact that we have a higher threshold with customs, if you wanted to sell products that you purchase online that cost you $100 or less, you could ship that down, put a markup on that, and resell that. Just about, I met somebody recently whose business was making custom candles. Right, she just started the business, trying out new techniques, new flavors, etc. I've seen persons who are interested in doing like eco-friendly products and services. I've met someone who, for example, started a delivery business. I've actually seen a lot of delivery businesses in the last few years. I've actually invested in one of the delivery businesses that I saw. I thought it was interesting and had some growth potential. You have persons who, for example, are on the services side, where, for example, now if you think about what we do, there are persons whose job it is to help you create content to stream to an audience. They're digital marketing companies, they're media companies, because essentially that's how we would be considered in the US. Would be considered as having a media company. Because as you know, we're doing everything along the same, spectrum to get our content out. We're marketing, we're sales, we're dealing with partnerships, we're talking with sponsors. And so just about any business that I've seen in the US, I've seen something similar here. I've seen also a dentist, somebody start a dental practice, recently opened an office, had to raise capital to do it. I believe they said the outlay that they had to invest somewhere about 20 to 30 million to start that practice. I know persons who are physiotherapists. Like I've met just a wide range of businesses, and we meet them, for example, at our conference as well. I met someone with a travel agency where her job is to help persons to book flights or vacations, etc. So a lot of options are there. Usually is when persons try to take that next step that the capital raise comes in, where they want to, because the banks are still tricky in the sense that so one of our flaws as entrepreneurs is to not track our income and expenditure, right? We just sell a product, we may spend the money otherwise, we don't really know how much we're making. So when we go to a bank looks at a small business, at an entrepreneur as very, very risky. So if you don't have your financials, that's going to be a red flag for them. If you don't have something to show that you're able to repay that money, they're going to see that as risky. So a few persons have looked to raising capital. So I have an idea for a Learn, Grow, Invest channel. I may ask you, Throp, as a friend to invest some money in my business. I may ask you to, give me like 2 million, for example, for me to buy equipment, invest in marketing, maybe build out a studio. And we have to usually work that out together, where you say, well, I'll give you that 2 million, Jermaine, but how much are you going to give me in return? And so I just come up with something that I think is reasonable, not really knowing how the space works. Neither of us know how to protect ourselves in case anything goes wrong. And a lot of those happen a lot often. And then you have these persons who are like angel investors or known investors, companies like RevUp or First Angels Caribbean. DBJ does funding as well. You have ecosystems like Tech Beach that will do events to help bring people together. So you do have those avenues that we didn't have 10 years ago. You also have Kingston Beta, but a few of those are maybe tech focused. So Tech Beach is focused on tech. Kingston Beta, most of the entrepreneurs there are going to be tech focused. So it's what we don't see is a general space for entrepreneurs. And so that's what we're trying to focus on.
And with that, I want to move back to like the banking, traditional banking systems, and using that as a potential resource for raising capital. And can you give? I'll weigh in a second, but I wanted you to give the audience, from your perspective and your experience, what that kind of looks like, or what that has looked like for you, or maybe even some of your clients and partners trying to raise capital or get a loan from a bank.
So I'll just say there are certain levels of debt that you can get. So with the banks, I'm going to focus on debt. So some banks will have like a SME program or an investment program that you can qualify for. But from what I've found, they typically want you to be able to generate a certain amount of revenues before they give you those investment funds. So let's say that you're running your company, you're doing 5 to 10 million a year in revenues. If you can show the bank, so for example, the bank is gonna, let's say you have a business bank account, which I do recommend. So once you're starting a business, I'd open a business bank account. It doesn't have to be a checking account. It can be a savings account. And what you want to do is run as many transactions as you can through that account. So for example, you don't need to collect cash digitally. You can just set up a payment gateway and collect your transactions that way. It will cost you a little bit more, to do the transaction. But what the bank is going to look at the first time you come and ask them for money, they're going to say, well, okay, L.E.A.R.N Grow Invest, you've had this account for 2 years with us. When we look at your account, you're doing $1 million in transactions through your account each month. So if I come to the bank and ask them for anything between $0 to $1 million, I can get that easily, because that's what they see that I'm generating in terms of cash flow.
And now,
right?
are you getting that loan based off of your financials and cash flows, or do you have to have some sort of collateral?
So both, right? So if I want something unsecured, they're looking at my cash flow. They're going to look at my existing cash flow, my current financials, and my projections. You're not going to be able to get it without those three things. I can get a business credit card based on my average cash flow. So just like I said, $1 million is passing through my account. I can get a credit card, a business credit card, for somewhere between $500,000 to $1 million, and that can help me with like day-to-day expenses, paying for my subscriptions, etc. But if I want to borrow $10 million, which is way above my average, I'll have to have collateral. If it is unsecured, they'll have a limit as to how much you can get, and they'll typically want you to have some tangible asset to back up that loan, because again, they're seeing it as extremely risky. Now, there are usually programs and grants that I recommend that entrepreneurs take advantage of first. As I said, DBJ has their grants that they'll give you. I think one of them is up to $1 million. The next is up to $7 million. You can take advantage of that. Now, the paperwork is a pain. I'm gonna say that outright, but I say to them as well, it's a grant and not a loan. So I think it's worth it to go through that channel if it is that you can raise the money in that way and not have to borrow it, because debt will always be most expensive, compared to a grant. So the last time I tried to ask the bank for, I think at the time I was asking for 10 million. They told me my options were to get a maximum of 5 million at the time, or I could use my house as collateral, because what they said to me is that based on how much I've paid off on my mortgage, I'd be able to use my house as the security for the loan, and then I'd be able to get the 10 million that I wanted, and that amount could just be added to my mortgage. I didn't want to do that though, because I wanted to separate my business from my personal life. I don't want to have a lien on my house just for my business. So I didn't think that was a good idea for me.
And like I started my business, man, I forget however many years ago it was, and I went for a credit card, business credit card, and they were like, "Oh no, you can't get it. Your business hasn't been in existence for
That's
at
what
least
I'm
3
saying.
years." And then if I wanted to get a credit card, I would have to put up the cash in an account.
It had to be secured, which makes no sense to me.
I'm like, and that is, I was going to use the R word. That is so stupid. Because it like holds back entrepreneurship like crazy. Versus America, they are throwing credit at me, throwing credit cards, I can get $20,000 tomorrow. If I could get it today, as a matter of fact, easily. Where here, to capitalize using these traditional financing formats, like it's very, very, very difficult. And I think it makes it so hard for entrepreneurs. And then you couple that with these, I guess they're not so high now when you look at the American interest rates that's going up, but still, I would say, generally speaking, like very, very high interest rates, and it makes it that much more riskier to do business in Jamaica. And I think it's just like something that really, really, really needs to be taken a look at and figure out how you can get rid of these challenges or make it less cumbersome for a capable entrepreneur business owner to have access to capital easier and also cheaper.
Yeah, so we've come a long way. As I said, it's been 24 years for me. So I've seen, I remember when I had my first company, it was hard to get any funding at all. At one point for my first company, I had $1 million in goods. And the most the bank would give me in a loan was $100,000, because they didn't consider my goods collateral real collateral for them. So I had to pretty much just settle for what I could get. Now it's better, meaning, as I said, they're embracing things a little bit better, but there's still a lot left to be desired, and we're still seen as extremely risky, right? They would rather give my employee a loan than me, the owner of the company. It's just easier for them because the thought process is, of course, my first job, and it's kind of true if you think about it. I'm going to pay my staff a lot sooner before I pay myself, and it is known that entrepreneurs don't typically take a salary, and so it's going to be hard for the bank to look at me and give me that loan because they see me as high risk in terms of debt. So that's why they look for anything that can be backed by collateral, because they want to have some sort of recourse in case there's a default. But the reason why we registered Learn, Grow, Invest US LLC, we registered in the US for that same reason that you mentioned, because I saw entrepreneurs on Twitter saying that they could essentially use their Stripe account to get a loan through Stripe once they had a certain amount of transactions registered.
Oh, I
And
didn't know
so,
that. Oh.
yeah, so we have been set up with Stripe. So I haven't leveraged that option yet, but I thought I'd, funnel all my payments through Stripe just in case I should ever need that funding one day, would be able to take advantage of it, because we're essentially building up a track record in the US now by having the US company. We have a US bank account through a bank called Mercury. I had it set up in one day. I didn't have to leave my computer. I had it set up, very simple requirements. I funded the account same day. We use it to pay all our subscriptions. It was extremely easy. I filed my annual report online for my US company in 20 minutes. I can't do that in Jamaica. So it's I am a little bit frustrated at it, but I also know that we've made progress. I'm kind of mixed feelings about it. And of course, we tell persons to focus on just understanding the system, how it works, how to work around it, of course, legally, and just to focus on the mission of your business, right? Because that's why we're doing this, because we have a mission and a vision in mind that we want to accomplish. But it is challenging. And I haven't even started to talk about the taxes side of it, because that can be a real burden for new companies to figure out how to continually pay those taxes. Most small businesses will hire their employees as contractors because they don't want the statutory obligation, but then now that may risk that employee not being able to access vehicles like the NHT if they want to buy a home one day. Because again, if you leave it to the individual, they may not pay their statutories even if they're being paid as a contractor, which we just kind of take that lump sum and spend it and not think about covering these things.
No, I think what you're doing is a great service. Like, that's very, very important and important to grow entrepreneurship in Jamaica and help contribute to essentially growing the economy. And so, my next question is, like, are you seeing any innovative companies, right? And what I mean by that is companies that are being formulated that are creating product or services that don't necessarily exist, period, right? And so what I see, and this is not a bad thing, what I see, and I think this is smart, and I say to do this all the time, but what I see is a lot of Jamaican entrepreneurs taking ideas that are working in the US and they bring it to Jamaica and they bring those services, and I think it's smart and we need that. But outside of that, are you seeing anything like coming out of like R&D, whether it's in tech or something like that, that is they're trying to change the world or disrupt a certain industry?
Okay, so I see what you're saying in that. So here's the thing: there's a thought process that says if the model works in other parts of the world, then it should work here. Meaning you just adapt it to our culture and make it work. So in one sense, because if you think about it, we don't really respond well as a culture to something new. So if I come to you presenting a new idea, and you don't have anything to match it to, you're gonna be wary of that idea. So that's so for example, if somebody's starting a delivery service, they may say we want to be the Uber of so and so, because you can reference it to Uber, then it's something that makes you feel more comfortable with the idea because you understand the Uber model. Or we want to be the Airbnb for so and so. So I'll just say that because it's hard. So for example, take what we do. We're doing something that it's a very niched service. There are other parts of the world that does the same thing, but the way that we do it is very unique, such that it took me a long time to figure out how to explain it to people, right? Because a lot of people think, for example, when they think about our content, they think we're just in financial education, but that's not the case. So we do that as a part of our outreach, as a part of our giving back. We create content because we believe persons need to have a basic level of knowledge, but our business model is really investor relations. So we are helping to connect companies with their investors and investors with the companies that they're putting their money in. So that's a very niche service. If I say that to 8 out of 10 persons, they'll have no idea what I'm talking about. And so imagine explaining that idea to somebody who is not familiar with it and trying to get funding. That's usually a challenge, right? So I say that for you to consider that on the innovation side. Now, if somebody really wants to do something brand new, novel, never seen before, you're going to need a lot of capital to get to the point where it's now going to be accepted, right? Imagine if you were to, because for example, take AI. AI has been around for a longer time than people realize. Because when I worked at Microsoft, we were very invested in using AI to for example, make Office better as a product. But then the last couple of years now, persons are so big on AI with companies like NVIDIA, etc., that if you start any AI company now, most persons will know what you're talking about. But 10 years ago, that wasn't the case. So 10 years ago, an AI company would have been considered extremely risky. So I hope you understand what I'm saying there. So I have seen, so there is a company, I'm trying to remember what exactly they do, but they had this idea for an innovative toilet cleaning solution that I saw. It's not the sexiest product, but it's the most interesting thing that I saw for a while. And what I did say to the founder is that, because he was looking for investment, and I said to him, well, try and find a customer, or at least a couple of customers, who will give you like a purchase order or some guarantee, because I know, and I said to him that it's going to be really hard for persons to take up capital and invest in your company because they've never seen anything like it, right? So he's doing something new. It may be in other parts of the world, I'm not sure, but at least it's new for me. And so I knew that if he should speak to an investor, because think about it, Rap, if somebody comes into you now and say, well, Trap, I have this business that can download all the content from YouTube into your brain, just place this device on your head and you get all the knowledge that you need. You'd be like, "Wow, that sounds really cool, but will it work?" And so you may be unwilling to put your money there because you're not sure, because that sounds so wild. But we know that technology is heading there at some point, right? So it's just those are the things to consider. But usually the entrepreneurs taking major risk need a lot of capital, because the risk is that they may run out of capital before there's widespread adoption. And the final thing I'll say is that you do have some tech companies or digital companies on the stock exchange that are trying their best to leverage AI and innovation to grow their businesses. One great studio comes to mind. That's a digital services company, and one-on-one educational services. That's also a company that comes to mind here, where they're trying to invest in. So, for example, one-on-one built this device called a classroom in a box, where you essentially can serve content to schools from this box, and they've been rolling out in a few schools in Kingston, and I hear that's been going well for them. So there are things like that, but when I look at how much it costs to take them to roll that out, they spent $95 million on that project. So it's a large capital outlay, and so they had a few quarters where they weren't in profit because they were trying to grow that business.
Right.
And of course, investors didn't necessarily respond too well, read the stock price during that time. So it is risky because we like things that are familiar, and we're not necessarily huge new adopters in this part of the world anyway. We usually like to give things some time before we jump on board.
And so, like, when I say like innovative companies, I'm even thinking beyond the shores of Jamaica, right?
Okay.
And
Okay.
I will say, like, and like, this is a question, like, and maybe there is, but I haven't heard of it. Like, are there any, especially like as we talk about AI and tech, like, are there any tech solutions that you're seeing that have been created in Jamaica that are being used by company? I'm sure it has to exist, but that are being used by
Yeah.
outside companies, right? I'm sure it has to exist. Do you
I'm
know of
sure
any?
it does too. I'm sure
Yeah.
it does too. And I feel like if I, for example, had probably had a chance to prepare this question, I probably could find one, because I've been connected to the space for a
Mhm.
while. Probably the best person to answer that question would be Ingrid Riley from Kingston Beta, because they have a meetup each month or every other month where persons would pitch their ideas. I've missed the last couple of meetings, but none comes to mind right now. But I'm sure, for example, I did see someone who started. So a big problem we have in Jamaica is working with tradesmen, right?
Mhm.
It's a big challenge, right? They started an app to help you always be able to find somebody who can get work done for you, right? So it helps both the tradesman and you, the customer, to find someone who can provide that service for you. Because sometimes you're looking for a plumber, for example, and you don't know anybody that knows a plumber, so you have to ask a friend of a friend of a friend to try and send somebody to you. I did meet someone who said they were working on an AI project, but I didn't get the details of it. There's another gentleman, I think, working on his name is Kari. He's working on an office kind of app, I think, to help you with both your productivity and your taxes in one solution.
Okay.
It's supposed to launch soon, but I haven't been able to try it out, so I can't speak to it. And I do know that there are some Jamaican companies that got invited to Techstars Atlanta a few weeks ago for some of their projects. Again, I haven't really gotten the lowdown on it, but I'm sure there are projects that can be pinpointed. I'm just not,
Yeah, and
familiar
the
with
reason
them.
why I asked is like I ask for two reasons really. Like one, I don't hear about it. I don't hear about Jamaica creating any sort of tech product or anything like that.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
service, and that, hey, this US company is using it. Or so I don't hear that. And then two, I'm like, how can we create an environment that inspires innovation and pushes innovation as opposed to um not copycatting, but like taking existing
yeah,
business
yeah,
models
yeah,
and applying it to Jamaica. How can we reverse that? And the reason why I'm saying that is like I want to create a situation or environment where we're creating value for other companies by products and services that we offer here that is homegrown in Jamaica. And I don't see a lot of that. I don't hear
yeah, yeah.
about a lot of
You're
that.
right. You're right, because it's again, it takes a lot of capital, and unfortunately the investors in general here don't really like to take risk,
Mm,
right? Now, I've heard, I was a part of the RevUp accelerator program, and I did see where I think Sandra Glasgow mentioned that they've invested in over 50 companies. And so I do know that they'll take a certain amount of risk once you go through the program and show that you have certain basics of what they'd be looking for in terms of a company to invest in. Because of course you want to ensure that the entrepreneur is going to take care of the capital that you give them. So I know they'd be willing to invest in various projects. But I'm not intimately familiar with their slate of companies, of course, but they're the first companies that would come to mind. But in general, throughout, you're gonna have persons who are just, it's not where it should be. And that's the truth about it, because I think especially the banks and the institutions with capital in Jamaica, they go with what's sure. They go with what they know they can get a guaranteed return on. But there are more and more persons who are willing to take a risk. So for example, I know a company like, I think you probably heard about Gift Me. They are privately funded now, and that's because I think there was a relationship with somebody who they were able to get some capital. Of course, that's not for me to disclose how much they were able to raise, but that was a project that was considered relatively new at the time in terms of our space, and it's been able to grow very well in terms of the market here. But it's not something that's publicized. It's not something that's talked about. It's not something that we highlight. So it's a very niche circle. It's a very small circle of persons who would be intimately familiar with what's happening. And it's not something that gets really the attention it deserves. So I agree with you. It's not common to hear about those projects at all.
Does Jamaica have the skill set that innovation requires? Does Jamaica have the innovative thinking to come up with these out of the box I won't even say innovative, I would say out of the box disruptive ideas? Like,
Yeah,
in your opinion?
I think so. I think so. But what we don't have is so somebody said to me, if I had Learn Grow Invest in the US, I'd get $100 million already. Because it's just that in the US, and think about it this way, they've had literally thousands of companies pass through companies like Facebook, etc., that someone had to take a risk on at some point for them to get where they are now. So they're just a more mature ecosystem in terms of startups, and we're just not quite there yet. I'm hoping it will change for sure, because that's what we want to see, right? But there are persons with capital, right? So so as T Ray saying, look at the level of poverty in Jamaica. It's really, when you look at the money that some of these listed companies are making, there's a lot of capital in Jamaica. I just looked at a company in terms of their stock review on Friday. They're making 700 million Jamaican dollars a quarter in profits.
Oh.
Right? And that's one company. So imagine the total market cap of all the companies on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, and it's just 100 companies. So there is capital in Jamaica. Now there are persons living in poverty for sure, but there are persons who are earning more than you realize. Persons are spending more than you realize on basic services, right? Look at the level of cars we're driving. Look at where houses are selling. You're seeing houses drop probably for like millions of US dollars down your side, right? Somebody has to be paying for those properties. That the developers have to think that there's somebody willing to pay for that to be able to bring that product here, in terms of a property that's valued, 5 million US is almost $1 billion Jamaican dollars. So somebody has to pay for that. So I don't think that the poverty levels that you think is here is enough to inhibit the business that we're talking about, or the opportunities that we're talking about, because there's a segment of the country with capital and they don't know what to do with it.
And I'll say, I talk about this all the time, and what I say is, Jamaica has money.
Yes.
And people don't understand that. Jamaica has money. And I think much of the time, a lot of the pushback that I see with this is that I forget who is the person who said this to me, but basically there is some, I'm generalizing here, but
Yeah.
there is almost a jealousy from some of the people in the diaspora who look and see the Jamaicans who stayed in Jamaica and continue to stay in Jamaica are making good money and real
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
And again, to your point, look at the vehicles and the cars that are being driven in Jamaica. This is not, and I don't know these car owners, but my assumption is that this is not somebody who's from the diaspora who moved back and they're buying a Lamborghini or a
Mm,
Tesla Cybertruck, right? Whatever a McLaren, like all these
mm.
supercars, and I've never seen supercars come into Jamaica at the rate
Yeah.
that they'd be coming in here.
Yeah.
And from what I've been told, these are entrepreneurs, these are business people who are generating income
Yeah.
and creating economic growth in Jamaica from Jamaica. And
Yes.
there is this misunderstanding of like Jamaica, it has money, it's making money. And I talk a lot about the economic trends that are happening with Jamaica and how well we are doing financially. And that is from the government on down. And I'm not saying that there isn't poverty that exists in Jamaica. I am
Yeah.
saying is like we are moving forward and we are getting better and we're getting financially stronger. And it is very, very, very apparent.
Yeah. So I think people think that so for example, you can also look at the number of franchises that have been coming to Jamaica as well. If you want to know how well we're doing as a country, I invite you to take a look at the stock market, because the reason, for example, I'll say that you can have an idea as to how different industries are doing. Look at how much these companies are making on a quarterly basis, right? Back in 2019, I believe, when I was looking at the financials for NCB, their profitability used to be $29 billion. That's 29 billion from their clients are in Jamaica. So
Mhm.
if they're making that as a bank, imagine who their clients are, right? So there's money here. I think people just don't understand how to, I guess, calculate it, because there is a segment of the population that is focused on, right? And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because there are certain segments that should be, spoken about. So for example, there are things that we should be talking about more, as you were saying earlier. But there are look at certain services that have been started. I won't single anything out, but there are certain services that have been started to cater to a higher net worth client, and that's because the business is here. There are certain things that there are certain habits or practices that people have, that the minimum you pay for such services are probably like 300,000, 400,000, and some persons are doing that weekly. And so there is money there. So, back when I used to earn $70,000 a month, I never thought it would be possible to earn a certain amount of money until I got to that point in my career where, when I was earning more than $100,000, I was like, people make this money here, because it was just so much money to me. But you and I realized that if you should even right now, if you should want to stay at a hotel for a weekend, you're spending at least $100,000 at probably the most conservative hotel. So it's not, and we're seeing more Jamaicans travel the world as well, right? It's
And to
not.
that point, like me as a hotel owner,
Yeah.
we're seeing so many Jamaicans come and stay with us. And I
Yeah.
would say we're a very traditionally Jamaican hotel. Like it's a large percentage of our clientele are
Yeah.
Jamaicans. But I'm saying it has increased. And it's also younger people too. It's younger
Yeah.
Jamaicans.
Yeah.
And to me, this is a sign, this is an indication that
Yeah.
wow, and it's kind of a surprise because generally where our the average age of our clientele tends to be
Yeah.
older, but you're
Yeah.
seeing younger Jamaicans coming and staying with us
Yeah.
here at Travelers and coming to enjoy. So like great point,
Yeah.
great point
And they
with that.
said they had $54 billion in savings at the start of the year. There's $54 billion in the banks in savings right now. When I heard that, I was like, I mean, most of that should be in investments, of course, because you put that in the savings account, the bank is going to benefit more than you.
Mhm.
But there's capital here, right? $54 billion is a lot of money, right? So it's really how if you look only at what you see in the paper or hear on the news, it skews your perception of Jamaica. And I'm sure you deal with that as well, throughout whenever a travel advisory comes out, people think, Jamaica is this place where you have to walk and duck bullets, and you can't drive certain places. It depends on what you read and what you kind of consume. It skews how you view the entire country.
Yeah, and again, I think a lot of it comes from, unfortunately, Jamaicans who are living abroad. I'm generalizing here, please don't kill me.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and they don't understand, or maybe they don't want to believe, but
yeah.
there are Jamaicans who are doing very, very, very well here, and I always say, living a good life. Jamaica
Yeah,
is a
you've
lovely
interviewed
place.
quite a few persons who have come back from the US to live in Jamaica. A friend of mine who I met at a conference last year, she just moved to Jamaica. There was an article out about her. She was living in the States and she moved to Jamaica to live for, and she's loved it here. Her family is in Negril, and it's she's never been been happier. So I mean, it's yeah, things are going well here, better than people think.
Yeah, 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 yeah. We got a couple questions here.
Yeah,
I want to pull up, and then I want to get a little bit more into uh, your conference. This is from Jay Fitz. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but does Jamaica have angel investors into new ideas as concepts that's not currently in the market?
short answer, Jay, if it's yes, because as I mentioned, First Angels Jamaica, they have invested in quite a number of projects. They do have a process though, right? So you have to appreciate that as somebody is putting up their capital, there has to be a process that you go through. So they're the ones that come to mind immediately. Just go to their website, First Angels Caribbean, and if you need an introduction, just reach out to me on social media. I can share their page with you. But there are angel investors here because they have a network of investors that they work with, and so there's literally endless capital through them. But there is a process, right? You can't just walk up and say that you have an idea and you need capital right away. There has to be a way that you prove that your product is solid and that they can trust you with the money, right? Because that's I've seen persons take capital and pretty much waste it. That's another story. But short answer is yes.
Awesome. I got another question here from For Eva. What about teaching people how to get capital from the US? Israel literally is a startup tech hub that US investors put money into.
So Eva, that's what we want to do. What stops us from doing that now, honestly, is our relationships overseas. Because and on the same breath, we don't want to connect a Jamaican entrepreneur with somebody in the US if we don't know their track record, or what you'd have to do to get that capital, right? Because that's also a risk, right? You have to think about it from both sides, where we as the entrepreneurs have to be mindful of who we're taking capital from, because people change when they give you money. And so you don't
Imagine.
necessarily want to take money from anybody.
Right.
And so we would want to build a relationship with someone, have a process through which we can get funding for the persons in our ecosystem, and have just a way to have that kind of grow and nurture more businesses locally. It is a long-term goal for us because, as I said, our company is focused on connecting companies with investors. So that's a dream for us. But we just need to build the relationships first, and then we can, for example, help them out with that. But what we have done, so for example, we did a video just this week on how to register a business in the US, with the plan that we're going to show you how to now grow and scale that business in the US, so that you can maybe on your own or on a one-on-one basis try to get funding through the US now, because you have a US registered company.
Awesome. I mean, great service you guys are offering. I mean, I think you're doing just a phenomenal job for Jamaica. Like, so needed. So
Yeah.
needed. Got a question here from Lanesra. Is there a way you could check the delinquency rate on loans in Jamaica compared to to other countries to see if that may be the reasons why many investors choose not to take on too much risk?
Well, the delinquency rate, I'm sure that we could get that data some way. In terms of how it compares to other countries, I'd really probably have to spend some time looking at that. But that's actually a great idea. But that's not the reason why I think persons choose not to take the risk. Because if you think about it again, so using the example that I gave before, because of the relationship that I have with Throp, I don't know you well, Throp, but if I come to you with a good idea and I say, would you give me, 1 million, 2 million, depending on what you think the idea is, we already have that trust factor between us where you may say, okay, Jermaine, I've proven enough of your character where I'm comfortable giving you that money. But if I asked you for the money immediately as you met me, you would say no, because you don't know me. You don't know where I'm coming from. So that is the part for us where we have, I heard somebody say, look at the number of burglar bars that we have on our windows in Jamaica. We don't necessarily trust immediately. It takes us some time to build up, because it's this weird thing that I see where when we're walking on the street, we don't necessarily trust the person that we see walking on the other side until we meet them, right? And it's this weird thing that I notice, and I see it when I go to other countries in the Caribbean where persons can sometimes be a little bit more friendly when you're meeting them for the first time, whereas I think we're just maybe afraid of the person next to us because of the focus that we have on violence and persons. We see in the newspapers, we hear on the news. We don't know if the person that we're walking on the opposite side of the street from is a threat somehow. So we are not going to be willing to give our money, which a lot of people value so greatly. They're not going to take their money to just give to somebody like that unless they're able to vouch for that person's character. So that's what I think it is more than anything else, because on a fundamental level, we all want to make more money by investing in projects that will do well, but we're not going to invest with somebody who we do not know. That's because most of us, even those who will unfortunately fall for scams, usually we fall for a scam because we're referred to by a friend. If you think about it this way, right? I'm in some program that is supposedly, being able to make me some money. I loop in a friend and say, hey friend, you can make $100 a month doing this. Okay, sure, I'll try it out. That's how we usually take risks as a culture. We're not gonna see somebody who we don't know and just put some money there because we're trying to make some of it. So I don't think the delinquency rate is the issue here. I think we need to have a process or a framework that makes it easy to register a business, easy to build and grow that business, and easy to demonstrate or make it available that we have this business that needs funding. And then I think you'll see that grow.
Great. Got another question here from Jana. Whilst all the development is commendable, what are the plans
Sounds
for
like that's
greater
yours.
diversification to foster greater growth in areas such as health, tourism, and logistics?
Is that for me or for you?
I can answer it. Do you
Yeah.
do you have an opinion on it?
So I mean, I can't speak to the plans for greater diversification. I just know from my side, we look at what we're building in terms of an entrepreneurship community as being open to everybody. Like there are certain fundamental things about running a business that would apply to every business. And we think that as many ideas as we can help to foster, whether through just teaching them the basics of how to do their accounting or to understand their financial statements, can help pretty much any sector. So we don't see a limit in terms of what we focus on, right? So for example, again, if you come to our conference, we're not going to say only tech companies or only a certain type of companies can come. We're going to share knowledge with everybody. We're going to try and connect everybody who we can. So from my side, there's no limit. There's no concentration in terms of the areas that we focus. But it really, really just depends on, I think, on the other
Sorry, I think Jermaine is frozen. Give him 1 second.
Real estate company right now, I wouldn't know what to tell them.
All right. He froze up for a second there.
Yeah,
So I'll I mean, I'll answer it from my perspective. I think I think there is tremendous opportunity in health tourism specifically.
yes, yes.
And I mean, all like right across the spectrum. I am talking from doing specified surgeries like hip surgeries, maybe what can be known for dental. Uh, and you see different regions around the world that specialize in different things. And then these could be cosmetic surgeries that are done by health professionals. And I think that's wide open. I even think doing physical therapy, especially as it compares to the US and what people pay for their health care there. And I think a great example is here, Omega Medical, which is the new Negril hospital here. And
Ah,
people, so I give my own personal example. It's people say that like it's super expensive to go there, and it's a private hospital. But I also say, from my perspective, it is just amazing convenience for people who are living here. And so I tore my MCL like last year, had to get an MRI. I went there. It cost me uh I have insurance, but like I had to pay up front. It was 53,000. It was like $300 US to get an MRI.
mm, mm.
And if you're going to get an MRI in the United States, I believe the average price when I looked it up was like 5,000 US dollars. And incredible
Yeah,
services
yeah.
that
I
are
saw I
provided.
saw the story when you were talking about it. That was great.
And so you think of you as, I think from a consumer standpoint, I think this is amazing. And I always tell people, hey, if you don't have optical or dental and you come to Jamaica for a vacation, go get your checkup.
Yeah,
Go to a dentist. You mentioned a dentist entrepreneur startup. Go get your teeth cleaned. You need a cavity fill, whatever it is, it's going to cost you a fraction of the price. Same thing. Get your eyes checked out. Go get your glasses. We health tourism is here in Jamaica. It is
yes, yes,
here.
it is. It is for
And
sure.
I think it just needs to be pushed out a little bit more. I think it needs to be incentivized. I think we can do a better job at attracting high skilled individuals. And a lot of these health professionals, they would much rather set up their practice in the grill. I'm biased, of course, but set up their practice in the grill, set up their practice, and then after they finish, they go on the beach and hang out. They would love
Yeah,
that instead of
yeah.
working in downtown Brooklyn and having their practice there. You may be making less money, but relative to your lifestyle in New York, you're going to live a better life.
That's an
You're going to
excellent point.
live
Yeah,
a
that's an excellent because
great life.
that's what my friend did when she. I think the article that she was featured in said that she was pretty much able to live on half what she usually spends in the U.S. here in Jamaica. So it would be maybe considered expensive for some, but it's still cheaper for her than it would be in the US. And there is a company that's listed on the local market, Image Plus Consultants Limited, that is very big on health tourism. They're looking at opportunities to provide services to persons who are traveling to Jamaica to get certain imaging services or certain diagnostic tests done. So that's a big opportunity I see for sure.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say on the health tourism is even like a physical therapy. I like speak specifically here in the grill, that a physical therapy facility, incredible. I mean, incredible. Something that caters to everyone from an athlete to geriatrics to somebody who broke their arm and needs to do, shoulder rehabilitation. Like whatever. The
Yeah,
market is there. The market is there because now we have to travel to Montego Bay, Sav, whatever. Like the market is there. And even as we're talking about the airport, there's more population going to be here. There's more business going to be here. The last thing I'll say is the on the logistics side, we're working on that. Jamaica is working on the logistics hub. It's something that they've been talking about for many,
yes,
many
yes,
years.
many years. I think Kingston Wharves is working on. I did a review of their company a few months ago. They're working on something. I watched their AGM. They have these plans to expand their port, and I think they bought a new location to essentially develop a logistics hub for themselves. So Kingston Wharves is a company to look at if you're interested in that stuff.
Thank you for that. Next question. This is from Pink English. Do you believe that building a portfolio would be advantageous for establishing a trust with Jamaican business partners?
If you mean building a portfolio here in the country so that you have something here, if you're talking to investors, you can show them you're invested in the country. It would depend on who you're planning to speak to. I don't necessarily see that as something that would necessarily build trust. So if you're saying, so for example, if you're hoping to get some funding from L.E.A.R.N, Grow, Invest, and you, for example, invest in the L.E.A.R.N, Grow, Invest conference, then that would certainly go a long ways to building trust with me, if you understand what I'm saying. So the person you're trying to do business with, it's actually not a bad idea to show them that you're invested in some way in working with them. But I don't necessarily mean that if you have a portfolio otherwise, in a general sense, if that will necessarily help. I don't know if I'm interpreting your question the right way, but that's how I'd look at it. It's all about relationships. So if you have Jamaican business partners, look and see what they are invested in, and try to see if you can get access to their network in some way. And if you show that you're invested in something within their network, that usually helps to bridge the gap. It's easier to have conversations and so on. But if you can't get that information, just don't be afraid to reach out. It doesn't happen as often as you think, persons just reaching out. Sometimes the persons, as I said, it's win-win when you bring somebody a great investment opportunity or a great business opportunity. So don't be afraid to reach out. But there are some persons who have capital who are not on social media. So sometimes just being on the ground. So for example, being here at Tropics, for example, you get to meet people who may watch the stream every week, but they don't say anything. But when you're in a room with them, you can talk about business and get things done a faster way than if you were communicating over emails or on social media. So that's how I'd look at that. But try to get be connected to them in some way, the persons you want to do business with, and that typically goes a long way.
Got more of a comment here from Lanrastra.
Oh, that was about the trust, the delinquency. Yeah. So I do agree with it. It's culture more than the delinquency, I'd say. Yeah.
Sojourness is asking, I think this is for me, what would the cost of an MRI be with insurance in the USA? I think $35 deductible would be the amount. I'm not sure if a person would pay out of pocket $5,000. Can you expound? Yeah, I'm saying the cost if you don't have insurance. That's what I'm saying. Like if you don't have insurance, and a large percentage of the population in the US does not have insurance, and you see situations where a medical emergency completely bankrupts not only a person but an entire family because they don't have insurance. And you see videos all the time where people get hurt and be like, nope, I don't need to go to the emergency room, don't put me in the ambulance, because they can't afford. It's so sad. It's so extremely sad, right? It's just like crazy to even think about, nope, I don't want to go to the hospital because I can't afford to. There was somebody, I mean, this was like a really sad situation. We talked about this was during COVID. There was a kid who had, I think he caught COVID, but didn't go to the hospital because he didn't have insurance, and he ended up dying. He was he was more scared of the financial repercussions than actually saving his own life. But that's the American medical system and the American healthcare system.
I've actually had an experience with that here myself, Throp, where there's a point where another issue that small businesses have in this country is insurance, because when you work at when you work at a company, you can typically get group insurance. So for my wife and I, it was hard for us for a long time to get insurance coverage, to get health insurance, just to go to the doctor to take care of basic things. And there was a stretch when I didn't have insurance, and even to get my glasses without insurance would have cost, $80,000 or $90,000. And at one point, I just did not have that money. So I was feeling some symptoms that were concerning for me, and I could not go to the doctor because I couldn't afford the test to confirm what I had at the time. So it's an issue here too, depending on what you have, because those some tests are getting more and more expensive. Dental work is expensive here as well, depending on what you're trying to do. Braces are expensive. Like there are certain things that cost a fair amount here.
Yeah, and I always say, and we don't got to get into this, but the the healthcare in in Jamaica, unfortunately, it is very different depending on your income. Very, very different.
Yes.
And the thing about it is, like, I would say for a middle income American who comes to Jamaica, what you would pay, you would think what you're getting here is ridiculous for what you pay, right?
Yeah.
But for the average Jamaican, it's a lot of money. But and you have access to healthcare here, but what you pay for, you'll pay less money for sure, but what you also will pay is your time, because you're going to have to wait, and you'll wait a long time. And that's something that I want to talk about. Like in my experience,
You should.
it's just like going to hospitals, and you're seeing just people wait like very long, extended periods of time. Whereas like if I have something, and I always say Jamaica has good like general practitioner care, right? And if you want to see, you have a stomach ache, you have an earache, you get bit by a bee, which happened to me, like, and you need to get like a shot, you can have access to a doctor very quickly, right on the spot. But it may cost you this. I haven't had this happen to me in a long time. It may cost you 100 US for a doctor to come see you, like right on the spot. My last experience with this is like I was playing basketball with my brothers downtown, and my brother, I was going up for a layup. I had a fast break, and he tried to like LeBron James me, come up behind me and block me, and he ended up like, just elbowing me, and he split my eye open.
Wow.
And he I was gonna I was gonna drive myself to the hospital. He's like, no, I'll drive you. I like blood is coming down my face and I can't see it. I'm trying to drive. But instead of going to the hospital, we called up a doctor. They came right, like literally right where I'm sitting. And shout out to Dr. Calendar. She came and she stitched me up like right on the spot. And I didn't have to go to the hospital. But in America, I would go to the emergency room. I'd be sitting there. I'd be waiting. How much that would have cost me, I don't know. I have no idea. But
Yeah.
I'm sure that would cost me a lot of money. Could the average Jamaican afford that? I can't remember what I paid, but I'm sure it was like $100 or something like that
Wow.
for to get that type of service. That's $15,000, and the average Jamaican couldn't necessarily afford that. They probably would have to go to the hospital, and they have to wait there and sit there and pay with their time, like I said. But again, if you're earning like a average middle American income, that is nothing for you, and you'd pay $100 to get stitched up right away so you can go about your business. So it's the disparity. I don't necessarily, I not even necessarily, I don't agree with it at all. I don't like it,
Yeah.
and I would love to get to a point of having this sort of access like right across the board. And I've been telling my subscribers, my audience, that getting into the Jamaican healthcare next year, that's actually one of the main priorities in respect to the type of content that I'm going to be creating.
Please do, because there are certain illnesses, I can tell you, Throp, I'm afraid to contract them here, because I'm not 100% confident that
Mm.
I would get the type of care that I need, because I've heard stories as well, especially coming out of the pandemic. And I know I'm meeting more and more persons who, when they're ill or their family members are ill, they're flying overseas to get care versus staying here.
Mhm.
Of course, the question is that, of course, they'd have to be able to afford it. But there are certain things that I would just say we're not fit to accommodate in terms of, healthcare issue. And there was a video going viral on Instagram the other day. It was released by TVJ about a doctor who came here to donate surgeries, right?
Mhm.
And he was just not happy with the state of the operating room. So I think they came to donate 15 surgeries, but they could only do 6 or 7 because the room was just not in a state where they could facilitate what they needed to do. So it is a scary thought, honestly, because you don't know what will happen to you one day. And if I didn't really realize there were so many private hospitals in Jamaica, or private practices in Jamaica. If you go to those practices as the average Jamaican, because maybe you can't get through somewhere else, be prepared to spend a lot of money to get care, because sometimes they're not going to take insurance. Sometimes a test that you'd pay $100 for somewhere would cost maybe $500 at that private hospital, because they are, again, facilitating a different net worth of clients. Really, they're never going to turn you back, but when you get that bill, it may be a pretty penny for you.
And I saw that video with the doctor, and I could tell he was being very careful with how
Yeah.
he his words.
He was being nice in his words.
And
sure.
honestly, I reading through the lines, it was complete slackness. That's what he was talking. Complete and utter slackness. There was no excuse for anything that he said.
Yeah.
And it was more so saying, like, they knew they were coming. They knew he was coming, and they knew he's going to be doing this stuff. And they couldn't get the air conditioning ready.
Yeah.
Slackness,
Such a simple
pure
thing.
slackness. That's ridiculous. That is stupid. That just speaks to the lack of seriousness that those people in that facility had.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. There's no excuse for that. And completely embarrassing. I could tell he was just holding back his anger and saying what he really wanted to say. And that is just ineptitude. It's completely inept. To me, that has nothing to do with resources or getting money or anything like that.
Yeah.
Anything like that. You can't tell me you can't find an air conditioning for these. I don't know what kind of surgeries they are, but I'm either life-saving or life-improving surgeries that they're about to do.
Yeah, even get a portable AC or something.
Yeah,
like,
come on, borrow one. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And they knew, and it was like months and months and months and slackness. That's what it comes down to.
I mean, it's a very interesting thing, because one of the reasons why persons sometimes don't trust the government, unfortunately, is that some of these issues, for example, seem very selective in how they're dealt with. And it's an unfortunate thing, of course. That's another topic for another time. But you look around, for example, right now we've been having a lot of rains throughout, so there's a lot of road work that's going to be needed. There's a lot of things that are, like, drainage is always an issue. There are many things that we can probably talk about this for days. Just a number of things that need to be taken care of. But that was an interesting thing to see, and I do hope that persons don't suffer as a result. Because imagine an investor looking at that. Maybe they were in talks with the same facility to do funding, and now they're probably like, I'm not going to touch it because maybe you're not going to steward what I'm going to give you very well. So, yeah.
Let's hop into. I want to hop back to your conference a little bit, Jermaine. We're over the hour mark at this point. Can you give us some highlights of some speakers that are going to be there?
Yeah. So first up, I'll talk about myself. So I'm going to be talking about a topic: managing your money as an entrepreneur. And so we have a founders group, a group of 30 entrepreneurs that we started, because we really, coming out of last year's conference, we saw where we really got so much value being in the room for those 2 days that we wanted to kind of continue the conversation. So I took a subset, invited some entrepreneurs, we joined in a group, and I was asking them, how many of you pay yourself consistently each month? And the results were very interesting, to say the least, because as you do what you do throughout, maybe you don't even think about paying yourself. Once you can cover certain expenses, you don't think about taking a salary, because you want to leave as much capital in the business as you can. But that comes at a great disadvantage, because when you're at the point now where you want to start a family, where you want to buy a home, you don't have any savings or investments because you're not getting a salary. So I'm going to be talking about how to balance, your business and your personal finance at the same time, because your business needs to be at a state when you get older to be able to give you enough cash to be able to take care of yourself. That's also a reason why you started it. We also have, let me go to our website real quick and look at some of the list here. So I'm at Learn, Grow, Invest Conference. I shared that in the chat just now. Our keynote speakers are Julian and Kirsten Saunders. So they pretty much had a history of, they were, in the 9-to-5 struggle, like most of us were at some point, and they were able to, they had an event that happened. I think in their book they mentioned that it was their mom who one of their mom that they had to take to the hospital, really serious health condition, and so they realized that she needed to make a drastic change in her health, and that's when they started to assess their finances. They paid off all their debt. They paid off 200,000 US of debt, and then they were able to build a business together as a couple. TV series, writing books, etc. So they're going to be our keynote, and they'll be talking about how to make some very key and strategic business decisions to pretty much help to grow your wealth. We have someone by the name of Jared Best Mitchell, who, well, what we should probably do is, if you can just probably share your screen with the conference website. Maybe some person seeing it can relate a little bit better to what I'm saying. And just bear in mind that when you load the page, there's going to be an audio playing, so you'll have to mute the first video. So Jared will be coming back to talk about effective sales strategies. That's also one of the things we realize, that as entrepreneurs, we don't really know how to sell, or we don't really take on selling. So again, you may think of, yourself, Throp, as having this value-added service, but you don't know how to find clients, how to attract clients, how to build a sales funnel, or to focus on something that will drive customers to your business, right? There is Kevin McIntosh, who's going to be talking about building recurring revenues in your business. Again, something that we will think about maybe when it's too late, because we have some months where we make a lot of money. We have other months where we have no money coming in at all, but there are systems that you can put in place to ensure that you're getting recurring revenue every month from your product or service. Crystal Day, who is on the left of the screen, will be talking about the value of mentorship and coaching. That's one of the things that changed the game for me. I thought I was in business long enough where I didn't need somebody to coach me. But when I opened myself up to actually getting that guidance, it's been a big help, because that coach now becomes your accountability partner. You run things by them. They give you feedback. And Shawana K to the right is going to be talking about how we can, as entrepreneurs, protect our assets. Right, because we really don't always know the best way to structure a company so that we protect our personal assets, right? So if you think about it, that's just not something we think about. And if you go back up, well, we have some more speakers to load for sure. This is not everybody, and we'll also be talking about how to overcome hardship as entrepreneurs, how to be the best leader that you can be for your team, for your employees. And it's just going to be really topics that we think can take you to that next step. So what we want to do, and if you've ever watched any of our videos, we're not the type of conference where you come, we give you some inspirational quotes, some kind of cliche stuff, and then you go home feeling good for one day, but you really was able to add nothing to your business. That's not what we do. We ask all our speakers to give you things that you can implement the very next day, right? And I was actually watching over some of the clips from last year's conference. I was like, this is solid content. So we've been doing clips on YouTube from our previous year's conference, and there's so much value in those videos that we really could even probably do a replay of the conference and it would still do great. So for persons who have VIP tickets, you'll get access to the previous year's conference videos. If you want to buy the previous conferences, you can actually scroll down to the bottom of the page. You can buy a bundle. Yeah, right above that section, you'll see the Grow Your Wealth bundle for 2022, 2023. You can purchase that. If you have a business that has a booth that you want to come and display your products and services, you can get that as well. We are still open to sponsors. We don't have any more speaking slots. Sometimes persons will reach out saying that they want to speak. We don't have any more speaking slots. We actually got 30 submissions for speakers. We only had 12 slots, so we had to unfortunately make some cuts there. But it's based on the value that we're giving you. I say to persons that the price of the ticket is what you'd pay for any one of those sessions, honestly, right? Because if you think about the value to your business, if you learn, for example, to streamline your revenue, that's worth more than $350 to you as an entrepreneur, right? If you can overcome those months where you're not getting in any income, what is that worth to you really? Right. So we think that it's going to be a great conference and one that you can use it to just take actionable steps in your business going forward.
Great stuff. Great stuff. So everybody can check this out at learngrowinvestconference.com. You can learn a little bit more about the speakers and see which ticket pricing level works best for you.
So those prices are flash sale, as I mentioned. What I could do is if the sale closes and you message me and say that you saw me on Thrap's channel, I may be able to give you a discount because the prices go back to normal prices tomorrow. Right. So if you're trying to get these prices, best to do it today. But somebody may watch the replay on like Wednesday or Thursday. Just DM me and say that you saw me on Thrap, and I'll send you a link to get you a good price on the tickets.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I appreciate you giving that to my community here.
Well, I mean, hopefully 1 year, Thrap, you and I have spoken about this before. Hopefully we can get Thrap on the stage 1 year.
Oh man, yeah, I would love to. I would love
to. It's just the timing.
At some point, we'll make that happen.
Yep.
All right, Jermaine, thank you so much for taking the time today on this Sunday. I want to wish you the best of luck on your upcoming conference. I know it's going to go very, very well. Can't wait to hear all about it.
And same for you. All the best with ThrapX. I will say congrats on 50K subscribers as well. I really do enjoy your streams every Sunday. I listen to them while we're going to the supermarket or just driving and stuff like that. So I don't always say it in the chat, but I'm listening most weekends, and the things that you talk about, nobody else talks about them. And I really do hope that your platform gets big enough where persons who are able to make decisions and change some of the things that you're talking about will see it and understand that it's important to a lot of people. And for your community, I've never seen any like Discord or anything negative in your comments. Everybody here is a family, right? So I really appreciate that. And great job.
Thank you very much, Jermaine. And I will talk to you soon.
All right, take care.
Take care. Bye-bye. That was Jermaine. That was awesome. Thank you everybody for chiming in. Thank you for your questions and your feedback on that. It always makes these sessions that much more engaging and bringing just a little bit more value to the table. I'm going to take a quick bathroom break and I will be right back. My dad hates when I say that. Like he's just like, it's just too much information, but just forgot. Anyway, I'll be right back. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining the tour today. And we're going to be taking a look at the newly renovated bungalows, or otherwise now known as the cottages, which we've gone through about half of them so far. And we're looking at cottages number 4 and 8. at this time, and this is just a view of the balcony. We changed the entrance from being in the middle, and so if you are familiar with the property, there used to be an entrance for 2 rooms in one of these bungalow housing structures, and now each bungalow, each room has their own entrance to the side, and a little bit more privacy as well because we split the balconies. So you don't necessarily have to talk to the neighbor if you don't want to, but you can of course go around if you would like. And moving into the room itself, these are brand new beds and frames and new design with the throw pillows and the standard pillows in the back there. And then you can also see the kitchenette unit that we renovated, and we'll get to in a second. Also, we added a working desk with a charging station, so you have USB and also Type-C there as well, right below the television. And that's for anybody who wants to get some work done, especially those work from home people. And this is a wider view of the room, and I just want to make note of the AC, because these used to be fan cooled rooms, and now we inputted got rid of the louver windows, and so now it's completely sealed up, if you will, with, as far as the windows go, brand new windows. And also want to bring attention to the ceilings. So the ceilings used to be flat, and now we brought them up to an apex to give a little bit more room and make it feel a little bit more spacious, but still maintain the coziness. And also bringing some more attention to the far right corner of the kitchenette that we have, and we'll get to that in a second, and also the newly renovated bathroom. So we basically gutted this entire place. Even the floor tiles are brand new as well. And this is another angle of the bed, and just want to bring some attention to the LED bed frame, as well as the embedded nightstands and lamps, and another view of the kitchenette, I should say. And as you can see, it has basically all the utensils and tools that you might need to cook a meal. Included is a mini fridge there down on the left, and a hot plate, coffee maker, ice bucket, all the knives and utensils that you may need to feed a small family. Not necessarily Thanksgiving dinner, but you can definitely chef it up in there, especially if you're staying for an extended period of time. This might be a perfect type of accommodation for you. And that essentially is the kitchen. And now moving on to the bathroom. And as I mentioned before, like floor to ceiling, new floor tiles, new ceiling tiles. Got the LED frame around the mirror to give a little bit more lights. We changed out the square louver windows for the ship window, I guess you can call it. And we got the rainfall shower head and the glass frame shower door. Even the towel holders, those are all new. And again, trying to bring together everything in the room, the kitchenette, and to complete the cottage experience, if you will. So very happy and proud of how this was done, and really wanted to give a modern look and feel to this new room category, the cottage. And so also with this wide angle, want to bring attention to the closet. So you got some drawer space there, and you got some hanging space as well, and your safe, of course, and iron, and the ironing board is on the other side in between the closet and the window there. And yeah, another angle of the room, and also want to bring attention to that long standing mirror there, so full frame mirror. And that essentially is the bungalow, and this is kind of our way of paying homage to my dad and where he started from with this hotel, Travelers Beach Resort. Started right with one bungalow and grew to the 60-room resort that Travelers Beach Resort is now.
Jamaica finds itself on a transformative journey. The government has committed billions of dollars to infrastructure improvements over the next 5 years, including highways, bridges, hospitals, and water systems. But it's not just the government. Major private sector investments are flowing into the country like never before. Billions of US dollars are being poured into residential projects and commercial developments. The economic indicators are undeniable, showing a positive path for Jamaica's future. Now is the time to be a part of this growth. You don't want to miss out on the opportunities unfolding before your very eyes. Enter ThropX 2024, Jamaica's premier real estate and investment conference. taking place from November 17th to November 22nd in Negril, Jamaica. ThropX is your portal to understanding the investment opportunities available throughout Jamaica. Learn from the experts driving Jamaica's economic success and uncover its potential for yourself. Whether you want to learn how to purchase property in Jamaica, network with top-tier practitioners, or explore what it's like to live and thrive here, ThropX is the place to be. Join a community of like-minded individuals and be part of a group of potential investors ready to grow with you. Join us at ThropX 2024, where all your questions about living, investing, and thriving in Jamaica will be answered. Secure your future, embrace the journey, and see you in Negril. Register now at thropx.com.
My name is Daniel Grizzle. I'm the managing director of L.E.A.R.N, which is a family-owned and managed small 59-bedroom hotel situated right in the center of the famous Negril Beach. And I would like very much to invite you all to come and experience what life is like here in L.E.A.R.N, to be part of our extended family. Several of the rooms are just open, overlooking the beautiful Caribbean Sea, and you have tall, waving coconut trees to welcome you and keep you cool on the beach. And you have a warm and interesting staff here ready to keep you comfortable, to make you feel at home, and to enjoy that you stay happy and peaceful.
All right, we are back. And where are we? Are still talking about the airport? No, we're moving on. We're moving on. Thank you again to Jermaine for hopping on. Great conversation, great information, as people are saying in the comments here. And definitely check out his conference, his website. I think it's super, super high value information, super, super high value opportunity as well. And as it relates to my conference, DropX, we're literally 2 weeks out from today is the opening event. Start today, 2 weeks from now, 14 days, which is kind of crazy. It is right around the corner, and things are coming along very, very well. The team starts coming in next week, early next week. Some flying in, some coming in from the other side of the island. So super, super excited to get the band back together. And I know our volunteers are also excited for it as well. I can't wait to get this thing really, really going. We are, I would say we're in like the nuance, figuring out the nuances of everything and making sure all our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted. And of course, we have the electric car show on Thursday. Very, very, very excited about that, and super happy to be partnering with ATL Automotive. I'm in the middle of editing that video, and man, it's just, I'm so happy. It's a lot, so much more work that I didn't need, I would say, to add this to the conference, but I think it's just so necessary and so important for the development of Jamaica. And this week I saw the Prime Minister talking a lot about climate change and how it is a disproportionately and unfairly really affecting Jamaica, and will continue to do so in the foreseeable future. And we as a country and a nation really need to adapt. And even Jermaine was talking about, we're getting more and more rain and how this is messing up the roads and with the heat. So we need, as we talk about the conversation with me and Jermaine, we're talking about innovation. There needs to be hopefully more innovation with our asphalt and even climate adaptation. I hate that phrase, but I think this is something that we have to get used to using in terms of like not just the word, but implementation, especially as an island. So with carbon emissions, it's like the same, it's kind of along the same lines. We have to do our part. And going through this video in terms of the editing process, and just continuing to relearn what I've already learned, because you just kind of have to watch over and over and over, like the same conversations that we've had that I've had with the ATL automotive professionals. And it just made me realize, like, I really want to see a Jamaica in the near future, sooner rather than later, where electric vehicles become more the norm than anything else. And I don't think it has to be this thing or the situation where we have to wait for the US to be the leaders in that sort of thing, or any other country for that matter. I think we can be the leaders if we choose to be, that we are known for this, that we become this island nation where we have more electric vehicles than we have gas vehicles, and we have petrol vehicles in the future. And it's like, just like the airport or the highway, this is not going to happen overnight by any means, but it does take, to me, how these things start. It takes a small group of people who, like, hey, realize that this is needed. This is going to protect us. This is going to preserve us. This is going to preserve our environment, and make it happen, and really help push and roll it out. And so anyway, the electric car show, I think it's going to be, hopefully going to be a great education for a lot of people who may not have had access to, or the opportunity to have access to, this information. And it's a free community event. This is taking place on November 7th, November 21st, Thursday, November 21st, here at Travelers, or across the street from Travelers. And you're going to get to see some of the most awesome, fantastic, dopest cars on the island. We're talking Porsche, Audi, BMW, Mini, um, Kia, and BYD, and I'm very, very, when BYD came to Jamaica, and for those who don't know, BYD stands for Build Your Dreams. This is a Chinese electric automotive company, and they are rivaling Tesla in the biggest ways. And even Elon Musk said that they cannot keep up with BYD. They just simply can't, and they are outpacing them, and they are seemingly going to be the world leader in electric motor vehicles. And they're here in Jamaica, and they're not in the US. And so if you're a US citizen and you're are going to be in the Niagara area, you're coming to ThropX, I think this is, like, so exciting for you to sit and see these vehicles, especially if you've already had any sort of experience where there's a passenger or driver with Tesla, and you'll be able to have a direct comparison. And a lot of America doesn't really, if you're living in America, you don't have the opportunity to do that, because BYD is not in America, and I don't think it's going to be there for a very, very long time. So I think it's cool that they're here in Jamaica and in the Caribbean. So also want to remind everybody, if you can't make it in person, virtual tickets are available at thropx.com. You can check it out at your convenience. If you want to also join the newsletter, I think that's a good idea to keep up with what's going on. You can go to thropx.com and sign up for the newsletter as well. And we have one going out later this week, to just giving everybody a few updates on what's happening. I think we are going to leave it there. I have so much more to say on this whole airport situation. I don't think this is going to be the last time that we're going to be speaking about it. We didn't even get into the political side of it, which, like I said before, I try not to bring politics into this, but I really, really, really do dislike the fact that this is being used as a political tool, because it shouldn't. But I get, this politics, politicians are going to do their job. That's what they're supposed to do. But at the end of the day, it's just such a phenomenal idea, phenomenal idea. And I think it's going to really change the lives of a lot of people, the Negril International Airport, or whatever it's going to be called. That's what I'm calling it. So exciting news. Thank you all for joining today. We're going to talk more about, more on this airport for sure. I don't think this is the last time it's going to come up. I'm sure with these Facebook comments, I wish we had more time to talk more about them, because I was actually going to start bringing them up and calling people out, like, nah, that's not cool. We don't want anybody to be bullied. I don't want anybody to feel like I'm bullying them at all. But it's just one of those things that are, like, just super, super interesting. Again, hearing these comments from these particular people. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and call it right there. This was an awesome stream. We will be back. Oh no, I don't think we're streaming next Sunday. No, we are not streaming next Sunday. But you know what? We'll make sure we stream on Friday. So I will see you on Friday. We will do our maybe it won't just be a Throwback stream. We'll do a combination, but we'll come back on Friday. I want to wish you all a great rest of your Sunday and a great week ahead. Thank you all so much for joining the stream today. Thank you to Jermaine and the Grow, Learn, Invest family. Appreciate you coming on. And I will see you later this week. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Peace.